Welcome into the Bison Post Game Show with the Forum's Mike McFeely and Jeff Kolpack. I'm Sam Goetzinger. Final score today here in Murray, Kentucky, North Dakota State 59, Racers 6. Jeff, what were your initial thoughts of this one?
Well, never saw the horse go around the track. That's a little disappointing.
Jeff's best buddy.
My buddy Racer won.
The pregame show, he made buddies with old Racer 1.
We saw, well, not eye to eye, but we're on the same plane of thought.
He's 5'9", by the way. I looked. I asked his
really?
handler. He's 5'9", so he's not. You're in the range.
Yeah. Probably got a better vertical than he does. Maybe used to. What I saw was two teams on opposite paths of where they're going. Murray State, obviously, with new first-year head coach Jody Wright, a long way to go. And this is our first trip here, and I think we learned a lot about how far this program really has to go. It's hard to recruit here. The nearest major airport is Nashville, 2 hours away. They're trying to get players. They had recruits here today, and it's going to be tough for them. And like I wrote in my column, Jody Wright earlier this week said, "Well, nobody's going to feel sorry for us," and I'm like, at halftime, I felt sorry for him.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Well, I was talking with some people. There is more buzz for this football program than there has been in years past. But like Jeff said, there are a little ways to go.
Yeah, and for the Bison, it was just mission accomplished, taking care of business, TCOB, whatever you want to say. Coming off a huge victory last week against South Dakota State for the Dakota Marker. They have about 243 guys injured. But they came down here to Murray State, and they left no doubt from the opening drive who was going to control the game. They got out here, the Bison did, I think, with no more major injuries. And so, sign of a mature team, right? You come down to a weird place. They said there were 6,000 people here. I don't know how they count here at Murray State, but I'm not sure that there was. But a dead atmosphere, bunch of guys hurt, bunch of new guys playing, and they came out from the jump and just dominated the game.
I said before the game, though, that I know there's some guys hurt, but it doesn't mean these backups aren't any better or not as good. And I think we saw that today with Enoch Simamana, picking off that pass and returning it for the pick six, 21-0, essentially game over in the first quarter right there. And so I think we saw some talented guys, play defense for NDSU.
Yeah, but there's a reason the other guys are starting and playing. And then your depth kind of gets thinned out. So I agree that the defense looked really good, and Simamana and some of those other guys that aren't starters looked really good, but I don't know if you want to shrug off the injuries and just kind of say, you just don't want to put yourself in that position.
All right,
you have the numbers. Nathan Hayes, Cam Miller had another great day. Nathan Hayes got out there as well. What did you see from both quarterbacks?
Well, first of all, Cam Miller, 5 of 5, and I don't think he got a hand laid on him when he was there.
No.
I mean, he was literally unscathed, and 5 of 5. But Nathan Hayes, 9 of 15, 141, 2 touchdowns. Thought he looked like he belonged in FCS football. He's 6'3", he's a big guy, and he looked pretty confident when we're talking to him after the game. So if you're NDSU, what you take out of that is if the unthinkable that Cam Miller would go down, I mean, it's not like this guy would be totally whacked out and freaked out getting out there.
Yeah, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, Cam Miller, I hope that the Walter Payton voters don't look at the final stats line and make a decision on there, because they took Cam out late in the second quarter, not the second half, the second quarter. But, boy, he looked sharp again, and that 74-yard touchdown bomb to Bryce Lance was a thing of beauty. Into the wind, he threw it deep, hit Bryce in stride, and Bryce did what Bryce has been doing this year, which is get to the end zone. But what a pair that's become, Cam Miller and Bryce Lance, man. I mean, that is too. We were wondering before the season, this is how dumb we are, who's going to be the playmaking receiver for NDSU, right? I mean, Bryce Lance is pretty darn good, man, and he just keeps coming back and making plays, and Cam Miller delivers the ball, and this offense is pretty good. They're not bad.
4 catches, 3 touchdowns, 108 yards for Bryce Lance. That's a Randy Moss stat line, if you will. You guys would know better than I would. What do we make going into next week? What are your thoughts with you and I on the schedule coming up?
Well, Northern Iowa is not the Northern Iowa that we've seen over the years. Obviously had some issues. Now, I don't know how they did today. They had a late game. But just not as athletic as what I've seen in the limited time I've seen them on ESPN Plus this year. I just don't think they have that playmaking quarterback, and they just don't have those wide receivers that I think have been good over the years.
Defensive line is a shell of what it once was. I mean, remember back, and we're talking 10 years ago now, but Northern Iowa was as good as any team in the country 10 years ago. And we've said it before, Jeff, but Northern Iowa was the team that NDSU wanted to model itself after once it got into the Missouri Valley Football Conference. But it's tough days down in Cedar Falls these days. But NDSU has to stay focused, get this win next week. We're getting way ahead of ourselves, but get this win next week. Get to the bye week and just take a deep breath, hopefully get some guys back eventually, and then make that final 2-game stretch run. And everything NDSU wants is in front of them. They took care of business today. That 1 or 2 seed, maybe even the 1 seed, is out there for them if they can run the schedule here. So they gotta mind their business and try to get a little bit healthier.
Yep. Final thoughts from you, Jeff?
No, I just Murray State again, a little ways to go. Bison again, the turnover margin, no turnovers today. They still have
five turnovers they forced today. I mean, again, it's Murray State, but 5 turnovers against 0 that's pretty good.
Right.
That's not bad.
Bison only had 2 all year, which is really, I think, a storyline there too.
Yep. I think the one thing, if you really want to nitpick the punting situation, but from what it sounds like, it's not.
There's a little gamesmanship going on.
Yeah.
There.
Well, and that was NDSU. Just to let you viewers know, NDSU had its like 3rd stringers in on the punt team, and that it's a tough deal. Caden Steindorf got blocked twice, kind of came up gimpy on one of them, and then Tim Paulsek the next time tried to run a fake punt just to kind of say no to Jody Wright. Didn't work, but it sounds like after the game there was nothing. There was a warm handshake and a hug after the game. I think both coaches got what was going on, so I'm not too worried about the punt team for NDSU.
No, absolutely. North Dakota State comes up with a big win here in Murray, Kentucky, back home next week against Northern Iowa. So we'll see you then. For the Bison Post Game Show, Mike McFeely, Jeff Kolpack, I'm Sam Goetzinger. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, good deal.